hit the road and take wrong turns.
The podcast where three girls talk and be cool.
Buckle up, we are in for some detours.
And this is
the Detour Podcast.
Hey guys, welcome back to our podcast. We're here with a special guest, Katie. Say hi, Katie.
Hello. She's our first hitchhiker.
We picked her up on the side of the road. She was just standing there with her thumb right out and ready to be picked up for a nice conversation.
Like, we'd yank her right by the thumb and put her in the car.
We really just grabbed her and threw her in the trunk.
We're taking her back to Switzerland. Which is where she's indeed from, actually.
So, speaking of Switzerland, Katie is actually, what's it called?
Exchange student.
Yeah, an exchange student from Switzerland, and she's on here to talk and educate us about the subject, although I don't even think Katie knows anything about it.
I'm an expert, don't worry, guys.
She is. So we all prepared a few questions. Are you ready to be interviewed today, Katie?
Born ready.
She was born for this moment. All right, so my first question that I prepared, and probably the only question that I've prepared, was how is the process of being an exchange student? Because I know you weren't jumping into this thing with no questions, or you had to obviously prepare yourself. Like, what were the steps of becoming an exchange student and setting the whole process up?
Yeah, it's a really long process. I actually didn't know that before I decided to go on exchange. I thought it's just gonna be, I can go and enjoy it and come home. But before you go, you first had to sign up, and then you have multiple interviews if you are actually good for that. Or, for example, if you have like mental health issues, they won't take you because it's too risky. It's a bit harsh, but yeah, they have to.
Which
they want to make
don't
sure.
Have any mental issues.
No,
that we know of.
But
also a disclaimer. Obviously, Katie isn't amazing, like perfectly T to English. She is very good, and she knows a lot of English. But obviously, if there is some wrong or not wrong, just like you know what I'm saying. Just yeah.
It's okay. I'll
just
get
be
it eventually.
wary of that. And
yeah, so then after the multiple interviews, you have to sign a lot of papers about what you're allowed to do, what the rules are, that you're aware that you're going to stay with a family they think is good, but you never know with which family you're going to end up.
Yeah, and that must have been very scary because I know, like, I can't even stay with, like, family members for, like a day without being nervous, so, like, that must have been a big change.
It was awful because they said, well, you're going to get news about your host family, like, from now till the day you leave. And I'm like, oh, okay. That was, like, half a year. So I'm like, okay. And then 4 months into it, I'm like, okay, I don't think any host family wants me. I still didn't get news. And then, like, 5 months into it, I realized they didn't even post it yet, that they're looking for host families. So I'm like, oh gosh, I don't like Canada. Why are they so slow? Like, they could have done that way earlier.
Why are they so
like,
slow?
Honestly, just a few weeks before I left, I think it was like 3 weeks, I got the news, and I was like freaking out because everyone was already back at school in Switzerland. It starts earlier than here. Yeah. And I was just bored all day, and I was like, okay, another day, I'm just gonna get through it. Then I read the email and I was like, no way. But yeah, I ended up with a great host family, so it's good.
That actually brings me to my next question, or my first question, the next question. Why on earth did you choose to come to Canada of all places? Like, what? Because, like, when I think of, like,
also, like this
America,
school in general, like, why?
Like, when I think of, like, America, I think of chicken wings, barbecue sauce, Chipotle, white tank tops, eagles, and crap. So, like, what did you think of before you came to Canada? Like, what were you thinking you were in for?
Honestly, I can't really describe why I wanted Canada. It was always like, before I even decided whether or not I want to do that experience, I was like, if I'm going to do it, it's in Canada. No clue why. I just really wanted to go to Canada.
It's a pretty nice place.
And yeah, well, I didn't choose Pembroke. I was just placed here, I guess.
Well, there's probably a lot of better places you could have gone.
Where did you want to go in Canada? Like what specifically intrigued you to come to Canada? Like the wilderness or?
I honestly was open. Like you have to be open because you don't, like you can't decide. And I just told myself like, don't expect to be in the coolest place because you're just gonna be disappointed. So just be open for any place. I honestly didn't want to be like too far up in the north because it would be freezing. I'm already freezing here. It's awful. But
is it like, can you feel like the temperature like is there actually a very noticeable difference?
Yeah,
really?
It's
like what was
freezing?
Really?
Yeah. Well, the temperatures in winter in Switzerland are about the temperatures here in fall.
Oh.
Here it's like, I gotta wait for the school bus and it's minus 30 degrees.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
See, that's like really normal for us, but I love like how different it is for you. I don't know.
Yeah. And like when I came to Canada, or like I was expecting, or like whatever stereotypes, I knew it's gonna be cold. And then other stereotypes would be obviously like maple syrup.
How much maple syrup have you had here? Not that
lot.
much. Oh, really?
Yeah.
But like
so
you
good.
can kind of notice that not like all of us are like drinking maple syrup from the bottle and
or like igloos or any of the stereotypes.
Could honestly never do that. That would be too much.
Ruby knew one of like your host family, which I feel like was one of the things that not like drew us together.
We all like kind of like slowly like became
a
friends like with each other, and then it made like a friend group and stuff.
Ruby knew your host family. And then what was your take on Katie when you first knew?
That's
her?
such a funny story.
So
tell the sport check one.
Okay, yeah. So they like said like, oh, we're having like an exchange student come, and I was like, cool, best friends already. We're gonna be best friends. Like I'm sure of it. And then
like more of like a joke, or were you actually like we're gonna be best friends?
I was like joking, but I was like, well, I'm obviously gonna talk to her and whatever.
Yeah.
And then so she came like a little bit before school started. Like it must have been like a week before.
Yeah,
maybe?
the weekend. I think I arrived at Saturday, and then on Monday was the first day.
What month did you get here?
At the beginning of September. Or no, end of August I left, but I had to quarantine 5 days in
Which makes me a little sad because I wish I knew you right when you were here so we could have our maximum time knowing each other. Yeah.
Well, so anyway, she came that weekend, and I went to Sport Check, and there was this backpack really high up on like the shelf, so I was jumping up trying to reach it, and I turn around, like, okay, imagine like my like neck is like cracking, and I turn around, and there's Katie and Alex and Mary.
Alex is her house.
Yeah, me and my host family.
Yeah, and your host parents and stuff, and I was like, oh my god, so embarrassed. I'm like, turned to my mom, like, we gotta leave. And yeah, and then I met you on the first day of school. Like, Alex came, introduced you, and then we didn't really hang out the first day. It was like, it must have been, no, was it the first day we ate lunch together? No, it was like a couple days after.
Yeah.
You came up to me. She followed me down the hall, apparently. You want to tell that part?
Yeah, I can't. I was like, oh god. I had a different friend that was an extension too, and I had lunch with her the first 2 days, I think, and then she wasn't there, and I was like, oh god, I need to find someone to eat lunch with. This is going to be really embarrassing. So I have photography in the morning with Ruby, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to ask her, I can do it. And she walked out of class so quickly, I was like, oh god, I need to follow her. I don't have anyone else. So I followed her awkwardly down the hall, just like followed. She turned, and then at her locker, I just popped up. And
You come out behind the locker, and you're like, hey girl.
Do you want to eat lunch with me, or can I eat lunch with you?
And then I said, yeah, of course.
You're
That's
Katie,
so
right?
Brave. That's so brave of you, honestly. Like, I personally find, like, being an exchange student, like, so, I don't know, like, you gotta be so brave for that, because I could never. Like, I feel like that would be so scary. Like, going to, like, another country or, like, town for another day, I'm like, and then going to, like, a country would be like...
Well, so my sister, she was on exchange in Ecuador. They speak Spanish there, and she didn't speak one word of Spanish when she left. And I was like, she's crazy, man. Like, I could never do that. Luckily, we learned a little bit of English in Switzerland, so at the beginning I was able to speak a little bit. So I was like, okay, maybe. But, like, when I was younger, my sister always told me, you're gonna go on exchange one day. I'm like, no, man. Like, I'm way too shy. I barely talked to my classmates. I had, like, 3 friends I really talked to, and I didn't talk to anyone else. And I'm like, no, I'm never gonna do an exchange. Like, I literally swore I will never do one. And then COVID hit, and I'm like, damn, life is really boring. I should do something, like, better. And then I was like, why don't I just go on exchange? And here I am.
Is that, like, a big thing that happens at school? Because I feel like no one here talks about, like, going somewhere as an exchange student. So,
but
like,
it's like it's also though, like, if we were to go, because you came here for, like, a whole school year pretty much. Like, are you gonna go and take, like, an extra year in you have high school, right?
Yeah.
Like, how many do you have grades or anything?
Yeah, well, we have elementary school, middle school, and high school. And elementary school is grade 1 to 6. Middle school is 6 to 9, and then high school is 10 to 13. I
feel like a lot of the reason that people, like, here probably don't is because, I don't know, not a whole lot of people take, like, a third year. And then especially since I don't know, I just feel like I'd love to be an exchange student, but I have, like, 5 sciences next semester, so...
Yeah, well, I don't know, in Switzerland there are different rules. Some, like, if you only go for half a year, you're able to continue, but if you go for a full year, you have to retake the year, which I think is good, because I would be screwed, like, missing half a year and then working really, really hard to get that done again is, like, I don't know, I would just, while I'm on exchange, I would be, like, thinking, oh, am I missing this? Do you have to ask my teachers what I'm missing? Do I have to do this?
I'm already stressed.
And now I'm like, you know what? I'm just not going to learn anything this year, and I'll come back and start learning again. But,
There's none of, like, anything you learn here, like, really, like, important? Like, could you just do, like, nothing and be fine?
Yeah. Well, I don't get any credit, so it barely matters. But most of that I already had in Switzerland since I finished grade 11 already, and here I'm in grade 11 again. So, like, it's...
You already knew, like,
I
mean, like, I know we were talking about this before, but are there any, like, classes that you, like, that are here that you wouldn't have in Switzerland?
Yeah. Well, I tried to pick as many of those. So I had photography, that we would never have that, and then Cosmo, and anthropology, and baking. We would never have this. Like, in Switzerland, you can't pick any classes. It's just all set already. And you have, like, biochemistry, physics, math, English, French, German, history, geography, economics, computer science. It's, like, way more just, like, study.
Okay, so this is our last day recording this podcast, hopefully, and it is also Katie's last day at school. At school. Because, just to clarify that, we probably are going to hang out outside of school. But this is your last day at the school, and it's really sad, but we're not going to cry yet. I might cry later in the podcast, but I don't know. No, I'm not going to do that. So, speaking of it being your last day, to reminisce on all of the beautiful and happy times we had together so we don't cry, Ruby has a question for you.
Yeah, what was your favorite day in Canada? It's not a question. I'm, like, demanding her to ask it.
Yeah.
But, yeah. I'm demanding her to tell us.
Yeah. Demanding her to ask us. Okay, you're going to ask us what our favorite day is, okay?
Yeah, what's your favorite day?
Tuesday.
Cool. Not Thursday, because that's a cry day.
But Today's Thursday, if anybody's wondering.
It's really hard because there are so many different ones. I think I would like to describe two because they're totally different. So I went with my friend and her family. We went snowmobiling at her bush lot, and we went to the shack, and then it was my first time ever snowmobiling, and then we ate something there, and I met her family for the first time, and it was super fun because snowmobiling is fun.
Yeah.
And then afterwards we went back to my grandparents' place, and we went into the hot tub, and it's outside, so we ran out into the snow and did a turn in our bikinis and went back into the hot tub, and that was so much fun. So this is one of the days, and then the other day was when I went with my family to Toronto, and we went to watch a Raptors game, and that was amazing because we started to watch Raptors games more and more often, and to the end we watched every single game. And my host parents sometimes left early for bed, but I watched every minute, literally every second, and if I missed something I rewatched everything. So yeah, that was really nice that we were able to go watch that live. It was crazy experience.
I mean, that's great and all, but I didn't hear my name
Yeah.
in any of those times. So,
I was gonna say.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and
if
then
they're
last
that
Sunday
great,
we
so-
hung out, and then we went to a trampoline with Maya, Ruby, and Megan. They're the best people in the world.
Yeah. I could see how that would have been a good
The
time.
best.
Yeah.
Speaking of all the times that you have had here, what was the most surprising thing that you wouldn't have thought would happen when you got here? When you were back in Switzerland, you had expectations about what was going to happen. What was the most surprising thing that you're oh, okay.
Well, the funniest, most surprising thing is that I met a friend, or not a friend, a person from Switzerland, and she turned out to be one of my best friends ever. And I was why did we go to Canada to meet each other? But that's not really Canada specific. I think the other thing that happened to me that I didn't really expect is that how close I can actually get with my family. I thought I could stay there and I could sort of
You mean
get
your
into a
host family?
habit. Yeah. Get into a habit to live there and feel comfortable, but I never really thought that they would mean that much to me, because now I can't even picture living without them. It's gonna be really hard. I'm gonna miss them very much as well, because I saw them every day, multiple hours, and I just now
I got chills.
Yeah,
it's crazy how that works, how you can be put into situations and your brain just sort of adapts to it. These are my host parents, and this is my host brother, this is what it's and then after a while you're what was life without this situation?
Yeah.
So, we've been talking a lot. Do you have any questions for us? Because, we're really
Sort of
stuff.
cool.
original Canadians and stuff like that.
Yeah. Original Canadians.
No, actually,
Canadians.
I have a question which I think would be really interesting. What would you expect of Switzerland doesn't matter if you travel there or go on exchange in Switzerland, what would you think? How would you picture it as Canadians that were never actually there? What cliches do you have, or what do you think?
Well, I don't want to offend anyone, but I'm not going to say anything mean, obviously, because I only have good thoughts about it. Because what you've said, told me about Switzerland is that everybody is on time and strict to their schedule, and school is a place where you go and learn and you don't have friends. No offense, Katie.
No, that was just me.
I just pity on you for not having friends. Yeah, I mean, chocolate is great there, so that's one of the things. But that's not even a cliche. That's just
fact.
That's
a
fact.
fact.
That
I
the
support
chocolate
the
is
cliche
good.
so much.
I mean, so yeah, I would just expect it to be more strict than here. Obviously we already talked about that, but and prices would be up. I'm just saying things I mean, I don't know, the language barrier would be difficult.
Yeah.
What about Swiss cheese?
Swiss cheese. I bet the Swiss cheese is
That's
really
actually yes, the cheese is really good. The Swiss cheese you can buy here, like in Walmart or stuff, not good. Like
our Swiss cheese.
like
and
it's
isn't
not
actually
from
Swiss cheese.
Switzerland. Like watch out, it's not Swiss. They're
Oh,
lying
watch out,
to
you
you.
They
guys.
are lying.
Watch
Watch
out,
out,
everybody.
everybody. Everybody, watch out. The
Watch
Swiss
out,
cheese
it's actually not Swiss cheese.
is
It's just
a
called
fake.
Yeah, and there's no such thing as Swiss cheese because we have like so many different cheeses from different regions basically in Switzerland.
Yeah.
And one of them has holes in them, and that's like nowhere else
They just-
in the world. They sell
what
that. So the
actually
one
is
with the
happening-
holes they call Swiss cheese, but it's not from Switzerland. It's produced in
what's
Canada.
actually
Swiss
happening-
cheeses.
Yeah. What's actually happening for Swiss cheese, it's like Katie's actually just like eating little pieces of the inside of the cheese. And then they ship it out. It's just like they were making it. And then Katie just decided, she was sort of hungry.
Yeah.
That's what I was picturing when you're like with the holes in it. It was just like.
Honestly, I don't even know. I think it's air bubbles, but I'm not sure.
I don't know. We should search that up. Are they
I'm
purposely
pretty sure-
cutting the holes out of the cheese?
No, I'm pretty sure it's air
It's
bubbles.
so sporadic, you think it wouldn't be like planned out,
That they'll like.
They like draw lines like
'Cause
where they're.
what happens if there's a
stuff.
really big air bubble and it's just like pops a big hole in the
That
Swiss
can
cheese?
happen.
I've never seen that.
Yeah, and
Maybe our
I'm
Swiss,
pretty sure
maybe
here
our
it is
Swiss
fake-
cheese with
fake.
quotation marks aren't actually like bubbles. Maybe it's like
No.
manufactured.
Yeah,
Maybe it's not
here they
supposed to be
might
like
actually
that.
cut it
Probably
out,
like-
but in Switzerland
Yeah.
there are sometimes like really big holes.
Well, it is getting pretty late in our podcast, and we are running out of time because we spent all our time
Talking about cheese.
just talking about cheese.
Yeah, but
So,
Swiss cheese.
thank you, Katie, for
Thanks
being
for having
on
me.
with us for the third time, and sorry for stealing you from chef class. I know you wanted to make some
Chef
cookies.
class?
Chef class.
Chef.
Where you learn to be a chef. Yeah. Would you like to teach us how to say goodbye to everybody in Swiss German?
All right, so it actually depends whether or not like who you're talking to.
Mhm.
So if you're friends, like for you guys, I would say tschüss.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are talking to like a teacher, you would say ade.
Is that just like a respect thing? Like being
Yeah.
respectful?
Yeah.
So you don't want to be respectful to us?
No.
Is what you're saying? You could just not be respectful. It's like French is like that too. Don't you have
Yeah.
to like? There's certain why aren't we're just not respectful in English?
No.
I guess
No.
Like every
we
time,
don't care if you're a
every-
teacher
like at the
or if
beginning,
you're a
I'm always
friend.
like,
it's just
how would I like speak to a teacher? Like I can't say you. That's like disrespectful. And I'm like, wait, they don't.
no. We just talk to them like
that's
normal,
you too. So
just
yeah.
well, obviously with respect, but we
Yeah.
don't change our words to be different. Anyways,
Yeah.
so we would say choose.
Choose.
Choose. It's almost like cheers for us. So, choose everyone. I don't know if that's what it is. Yeah. Thanks for chilling in our trunk of the car that we kidnapped you in.
Yeah, I can just go into the
Choose.
luggage and then fly,
Yeah.
drive home with you.
Fly home.
Fly, we can
Fly,
fly
drive.
away. Okay, yeah.
All right.
I'm just
That's
making
good.
it sound like we're still talking so the music goes away.
No, I think when the music gets away, I think we should be like laughing.
Yeah. Well,
Oh, okay.
Isn't that what it is? Like in podcast, it's like
we already
because
know.
we're talking and then it's like the music goes in and we're like.